It is late into the night and I'm just sitting down here waiting for the night bus, and I just wanted to use this short period to talk about war and how these stuffs get to play out in our world and how they get to go around. I don't think wars are going to end anytime soon because those who benefit from such events and such realities are not that many, but the benefits, so-called the profits they get from wares and gadgets of mass destruction and the likes of that seems to outweigh ordinarily whatsoever we might want to hold precious to us. Number one being human life, sanctity, sanity, whatsoever you want to call it. But these people are just thinking about profit, profit, profit. And how do they continue to make profit? By continuing to stay in conflict and in dispute. So they get to sow this here and there, left and right. But what about we talk about the true cost of disputes, the true cost of divisions, the true cost of confusions as we've come to have it in our world today? Our world is increasingly becoming very, very confused. We're increasingly becoming very, very stupid. Though we want to claim we're very, very intelligent and we're very, very up to date and we're all wise, all brilliant because we're making lots of inventions and we've had technological strides over the years as though we are the first to come to discover things that have been beneath our grasp as human beings and bring them to our consciousness and bring them to the forefront of our life and the likes of that. It doesn't make sense. Not today, not tomorrow, not next week. When we look at numbers on the screen, when we look at the numbers of people killed on a daily, and we get to tell ourselves, these are just mere numbers. It leaves me thinking, how can we really come to that conclusion? It also begs the question when we talk about, the whole argument about abortion and women's right and what we really mean by women's right, because I think in having these conversations about women's right and the lies that have been padded to join the whole feminist movement rather than sticking to the real contention which feminism actually it's ordinarily supposed to do, we have come to find ourselves in this web of confusion, and we've had so many nonsense in the name of we not really thinking the way we're ordinarily supposed to think. Whether you're having arguments as to body affirmation, affirming oneself and the likes of that, you should also know that a thing can only be and not be. Yeah, there might be lots of debates about that, but we're losing grabs and we're becoming too subjective for our liking, and being agnostic at every point in time, it's not really a good way to go. It's a confused thing. It's a thing nobody ordinarily should be thinking of doing. It's a thing that should be a process rather than an end point in itself. So, on the issue of wars and the issue of issues of conflicts and the hypocrisy around the resolutions of such and how such continue endlessly, we have to really, really look at it and see how we can forge ahead and move ahead as a people. In 2014, that's 10 years ago, I know how young I was. I wasn't so young, but I was young, and Gaddafi had just been killed not too long before the whole, like in concrete terms, the conflict between Ukraine and Russia took the shape it got to take and the likes of that. Syria is currently in distress and disarray. Iran is under its own issue. The whole hypocrisy around the support for Israel and the genocide going on in Palestine is also there for everybody to get to see. The solutions to this, to all of them, is peace. From the invasion in Khartoum to the distress that continues to bedevil the Sudan and the issues in Congo and as many places where they're having issues at the moment, the Middle East and all that, it begs the question, how far have we shifted and tilted away from truth? How far have we gone away from telling ourselves the truth as to the fact that we are not a peaceful people, that we at the moment are so sad, we at the moment are so confused, we at the moment are so hypocritical to tell ourselves the actual stuff. What is the actual stuff here? The world needs peace. We must strive as much as possible to sell the idea of peace at every given point in time. Doing away with racism, doing away with tribalism, doing away with ethnicity, and at best keeping ethnicity and tribal orientations where they ordinarily supposed to be it them getting so big to become nationalists or to some persons cosmopolitan in nature, which we almost are all becoming. We have to keep these things in check and at bay. The 21st century has come to offer us a whole lot of things that can see to it that we can come closer. The social media has granted us a chance and a space to be friends to as many persons as we want to be friends, whatever sense we want to really look at it, because I've been really looking at the whole idea of Facebook friendship, what it really means. It's also a thing we should look at. Have we really harnessed the opportunities TikTok can give to us? Have we really harnessed the opportunities Facebook can give us, and see how we get to grow as a people? So, as I was talking about the whole idea of we're not really coming to have peace in our world and the likes of that, before my boss came, I was talking about the whole idea of how divided our world have become, and how these men and women are not making any efforts to see to it that the world gets better. When I mean these men and women, I'm talking about our political leaders, guys in high offices, those who ordinarily either allowed or voted in to get to see to it that they get to champion and get to serve the people. I think that for the issues we get to see in our daily lives, in our societies, and like, how are we going to stop this? We have to begin to harness beyond using TikTok as a tool to dance and show our outfits and the likes of that. It can also be used for the things it's supposed to be used. Things like getting information disseminated to different people in time, and for the right reasons also. The social media should highly be used and prioritized in terms of making the world a better place, and making our lives ordinary what it's supposed to be. We mustn't give up on ourselves. We mustn't just allow ourselves to die as chickens. We must find and see to it that we want to really change and we want to make efforts. Because if we fail, we fail together as a generation. If we succeed, we succeed also together. So we've not really looked at the possibility of what this can actually mean for us. We've not really looked at what this can do for a generation of people like us, constantly in disagreement, ideological fights here and there, with no headway, with no seeming headway. we must look for a way forward. We must look for a solution. And one of the solutions is embracing our shared humanity beyond the tone of our skin, beyond the color of our hair and the texture of our hair and the likes of that. We have to really come to tell ourselves that we are very, very similar. We are more similar than we want to admit. We are more similar than we ordinarily want to tell ourselves we are. And until we accept that, we just deceive ourselves and tell ourselves that, you know, our lives our lives have just been charted for us on different courses and on different paths. While I respect the individuality and all the uniqueness that comes in the look, I cannot also take away the fact that we must come together. We must be a people come together, a people striving to be better, a people growing strong and basking in the strength of the group like this, rather than like this, easily bent like Nelson Mandela was stripped. Together we form a fist. We can hit a punch, though I don't advocate for violence. We can hit a punch and still our life gets to go well, but if we decide otherwise, we're going to fall together and we're going to crash. And how great will that crash be, and how great will it be for all of us? And how great will that fall be for us as a people, and as a people who ordinarily also want to see to it that the world we live in gets better and gets brighter and the likes of that. So it's enough that we're already having issues around and that life is already tough for a whole lot of persons. We as a people shouldn't, try to want to make it much more complicated, want to make it much more difficult for a whole lot of persons out there who want to live but a simple life. So what would be my take here? Let's strive for peace. Let's strive for brotherly love. We can grow stronger than we think. We can succeed as a people. It's been a blessed century. We have advanced on many fronts. We have done a whole lot of things that most persons who were here before us would have thought not to be possible. But it doesn't also take away from it that we have also been very, very confused as a people as to what we are meant to do, how we are meant to live our lives, and how we are ordinarily meant to pursue success, happiness, peace, progress, and all those things in between. And it is to such that we must, stand and tell ourselves that we can grow together. We can actually stand tall, fight this battle together. Our confusions can be put to rest. Our sadness can be made lighter. Our sorrows can all go out of shape, and we continue to grow stronger and stronger, because in the end, that is what matters. What matters is our ability to tell ourselves that we must stand tall and stand strong for each and every one of us. We must stand strong and stand tall for as many persons that are out there, that we must stand strong for as many persons who are battling one ideological confusion or the other. It's what I would suggest, and it's what I believe is the way forward. Without that, I don't see how we're going to make progress as a people. Without that, I don't see how we're going to grow. We can talk and talk and talk for all I care, if we don't put things in their right place and how they are ordinarily meant to be, we will just continue to deceive ourselves and continue to just talk, because talk is cheap. We need to take actions from the little places where we find ourselves, from our offices to our workplaces. We ought to be responsible enough to tell ourselves that the world is already in a pretty much bad shape and bad taste and bad situation. Making it worse is not the way forward. It's said that when you miss your bus stop, or when you miss your stop, either on a metro, on a bus, or on a private ride, your destination, whatsoever, you continuing the journey is as good as determining how far you are from your actual destination. What do? You turn back, or you stop, and then you change the metro go in the opposite direction. That's what you're meant to do, and that is what we are all meant to do. Take a U-turn, or just take a total turn. It might be a revolution, it might be a revolt in the real sense of the words, not as we've come to perceive revolution and revolt to mean fight and the French Revolution as it is. Not that. We really committing to the fact that committing to the fact and teaching our children that they can be at peace with their African brothers and sisters. They should be at peace with them, not can. That they should be at peace with the Mexicans, because the war going down in Ukraine is currently affecting the price of gas in the market and the price of grains in different parts of the world. The thing Ukraine had been known for greatly and the likes of that. But here they are today, at the brink of collapse, and the brink of being swallowed into nothingness, and the hypocrisy of the West as to it condemning Russia and leaving Israel unchecked and untamed is still a thing that that baffles my imagination and my person. It's not something I can really come to terms with, because as much as I care, people are dying, and that's what matters. And like Trump will say, you might not like him for a lot of reasons. He said, I care about ending the war, not more so about who wins the war. Who wins the war is irrelevant. What's relevant is the fact that people are dying, and they are dying as people are having sex, as people are falling in love, as people are getting married in different parts of the world. And it might just be the case that the Third World War has already begun. Because just like the Second World War started and most parts of the world just went about their daily business without actually knowing that it has actually begun, it might just be the case of what has happened almost 3 years down the line, or if not 10 years rather, if I were to go by the 2014 dispute and the likes of that. We cannot seek for a change in attitude and the likes of that, and want people to have good health care and good health services and the likes of that, and still want to be fighting wars, and still want to be, because to maintain the current military might and the likes of that, it's very, very expensive. If you study the military budgets of countries and the security budget, you get to see that it outweighs health, it outweighs education, it surpasses what they get to budget for almost any other eventuality or any other situation in a country that really, really cares about the security of its people. If my brother's house is secure, he won't think of stealing. If my sister's country is secure, she won't think of migrating, and like ordinarily she would want to migrate when there's a need to migrate, not necessarily because she's actually fleeing for survival and the likes of that. Most Africans will not want to cross the Sahara and then the Mediterranean Sea, and the devilish reality that that particular journey can really, really bring to the life of the person. Nobody will really want to risk being a prostitute because they want to make ends meet. Nobody will risk being an armed robber. I'm not saying the proclivities are not there, or the urge for these stuffs will not be there, because um, we're very complex and composite beings and creatures down here. The mystery we get to exude in the course of our lives still baffles my imagination and still baffles me at times. And so, what have I been rambling about this night, waiting for an exchange bus so I could go grab sleep and probably continue my journey the next day and the likes of that? It's simple. It's simple. The world needs peace. And the world needs peace, not tomorrow. The world needs peace now. It's already late, but the next right time is now. This is the time we have to make efforts. As a young person, you have to be involved politically. Don't look at the way politics is being played now and get discouraged. Go to the roots. Go to the roots of the matter and get to see what politics ordinarily is. Politics should be a thing everybody wants to participate in, because we all live in the polis, we all live in a township, we all live in communities, we all live with ourselves. No man is an island, as John Donne would get to say. For whom does the bell toll? It tolls for everybody. It tolls for you, it tolls for me, it tolls for the world leaders, it tolls for the United Nations to shrug off the hypocrisy that sometimes can be termed their diplomatic ways of getting to do things. It tolls for our politicians to look for ways of lasting peace. It tolls for diplomats not to be selfish, stupid, and foolish. It tolls for you and I to be responsible enough to tell ourselves that the world we live in, the world we want, the world we should ordinarily live in, is a world devoid of division, devoid of racism, devoid of um, tribal tribal extremism, and all forms of extremism should be done away with. All forms of pride should be done away with, because in the long run, we all are going to die. You would die, I would die. How do we know? Those before us have gone, those before us have died, and we also are going to pass on. Whether to a life after here or not, it's a debate for another day. It's a debate for the theologians and the philosophers. I'm just your brother, trying to reason out loud as to how stupid we have become in the 21st century, as to how we can declare war and fight and kill one another in the name of self-defense. I know these things are not black and white, the same way reality and life is not black and white, but come on, let's cut ourselves some slacks. We are not that dumb and we are not that stupid. We cannot continue to glorify war and glorify the stupidity of the actions we get to take, from abortions to gender affirmation and all these things that ordinarily shouldn't be our concerns. If an ideology wants to really be brought forward, the ideology should be brought forward in truth. But many a times we've come to see that most ideologies have really not 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 seen the light of day. Recently, I watched a clip back home in Nigeria where presumably a young man who who had feminine composure and the likes of that was being harassed by a group of Nigerian men. A thing very despicable. A thing to be ashamed of. It's captured on camera. Can these persons be apprehended and the likes of that? I think I would love to see bullies like that who bully people who differ from their sexual orientations ordered for the villains they actually are. While I believe in the fact that men are men and women are women, you cannot also take it away from the fact that the broad spectrum, it's very confusing. there's a broad spectrum of our reality as humans can be very, very challenging, and our hormones can tell us a whole lot of things that we ordinarily don't want to hear and we ordinarily don't want to do. So, as we continue to strive to see to it that we make this world better, we should tell ourselves the truth that nothing has happened to us that has not been in contribution or in collaboration with the next man, dead or alive. From the books we read to the research we've used to the cars we now ride and the bikes we now drive, to the bikes we now drive and ride and the cars we now ride, to the pencils we use, to the airplanes we get, you name it. They all come down to us by collaborations, by exchange of ideas, transportation of things, and you name it, transitioning of knowledge from one epoch to the next. So who are we to tell ourselves that we are all that important and all that exclusive and that we don't need the next person. We all need ourselves. The doctors need the engineers to get to fix their houses. The plumbers are there to be given jobs to do when it concerns the other rooms and when it concerns our housing. The carpenters are meant to fix our furnitures. The bricklayers are meant to build our houses and all that. And so we just wanting to think that we can be alone. It's a very, very stupid thing we ought to have. It's a very, very stupid thing we ought to have given up a very, 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 very long time ago. And and until we do that, we just continue to deceive ourselves down here because the world needs everybody to be together. I'm not striving and asking people to become globalists and all that. I'm just speaking to the cosmopolitan nature of our current reality. I was born in Nigeria, spent a great deal of time, almost 17 years in the country straight before I had the opportunity of being in other countries and up until my current situation and how I have traveled. And I believe also that's the case with a whole lot of persons. And these days I can start talking of visual cosmopolitanism because we are increasingly meeting people of different backgrounds and the likes of that. A thing that in past times we might not have believed, or our parents and our ancestors would not have imagined that there will ever come a time where we would be this close to ourselves and be this close to one another as compared to other times and other epochs in history. And we shouldn't overlook this. This is a profound thing that we should really, really harness and exchange ideas the same way we're trying to do. We should read more. We should use the radio. We should use the media. We should read books and write poems and share both the positive and the negative of our societies and get to see how we come around it to make the world a better place. The forces against this are very, very many, but we are more than them. We are more than our oppressors. We are more than those who get to exploit us. We are more than those who get to cheat us. We are more than a whole lot of things. We are more than what we want to believe we are. And so for me as a young man, what I would suggest is what I am suggesting at the moment, that we as a people come together and tell ourselves that we must grow together, we must strive together, we must forge ahead and having a right course to see to it that we live better. And that is what I think, that is what is important to me, and that is what I think we should do. And until we do that, I don't know where we're heading. I don't know how it's going to be. I don't know where the future of the world is going to be. There's no set of predictions and possibilities that get to happen. A whole lot of things can happen in a year. A whole lot of things can happen within a very, very short period of time. And it is to this reality we should, it is to this concept and idea that we should be very, very humble. A whole lot can change in a country. I always make reference to Warsaw as a point of contact, 98% destroyed by the war. But when you go to that city, you get to see the transformation that have gone down there. And we too can make that conscious effort. I've been your brother, Obin Mecca. My boss is here, and see you later.